What is up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Forging the New MCU. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the fifth entry in the cosmic saga, X-Men. Now, before I get started, make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up and share it around if you enjoyed. I'd really appreciate it, and let's get to it. Now, X-Men is in this universe as the first origin project of this franchise. This is a property that hasn't really been kind of tapped into in terms of how the team became the X-Men with the original lineup and all that. So that's what this movie will do, and I'll get into the synopsis right now. So the synopsis of X-Men is the first X-Men movie will introduce the team consisting of Cyclops, Jean Grey, Iceman, Beast, and Angel. They will face off against Magneto and his Brotherhood of Mutants, who are resisting the oppression of human authority over mutants. It's a really short and simple synopsis, but the main thing I wanted to get across is this is an establishment of the X-Men as a team. Obviously, X-Men 97 is on right now in the MCU. We don't know if it's really connected to the movies or other shows at this moment, but it is an established team where they are like older in their progression and all that, where this is an origin of the team. And I thought it would be really interesting having an origin for the X-Men in the established universe with established Avengers and the Fantastic Four and all that. So you get the younger Cyclops, Jean Grey, Iceman, Beast, and Angel all being formed together with Charles Xavier at the head of it, going against a group of other mutants that Magneto has kind of put together that are aligned with his cause, which is to kind of fight back at the humans because they hate the mutants. There's still, that kind of, there's that xenophobic atmosphere around mutants where they are considered different. And it's interesting because you see other superheroes that you could interpret them as mutants, but they're not. So the fact that these people are hating on mutants in this, specifically mutants, would be a really interesting thing to pull from. And it's a different kind of era to deal with that. Obviously, the movies, you see it in the 60s when they rebooted it, and then you see it in the early 2000s when the original movies were coming out. So having it in this, present day era where this franchise takes place, I thought that would be really interesting. So like I revealed in the synopsis, Magneto and his Brotherhood of Mutants are the villains in this movie. Obviously, Magneto is the most iconic X-Men villain. I know a lot of people say he's not really a villain. Traditionally, though, you can agree that he is a villain for the X-Men. For this, he is playing the antagonist role with some other mutants. I hadn't specifically named who he would have on his team, but, you could imagine some Mystique, Juggernaut, Toad, people like that kind of team. And I thought that would be a really interesting thing to have for this first movie where the original X-Men are trying to, fight back at other people that are like them, that just believe in a different thing. Obviously, Charles is more oriented to that humans and mutants can coexist and they need to reach that point. But Magneto and his Brotherhood of Mutants, their ideology is that the humans are just there to hate them. They're not actually helping them in any way. They're an obstacle, and in order for mutants to thrive and to be recognized and live to their full potential, they need to kind of fight back at the humans because the humans are just full on hating on mutants at this point. So that's what I thought would be really interesting for this. And obviously Charles and Magneto would be their older counterparts. It's not like the reboot where they were a little bit older than the teams. This would be like your 60-year-old Charles Xavier and your 60-year-old Magneto. They would be still older and a very comic book accurate sense. So that's what I wanted to get in this. So obviously the main plot would be the main X-Men team coming together. Charles kind of trains them. They kind of get to work together as a team. And then they get sent on these missions to kind of stop Magneto from, trying to take out human rallies or something like that, trying to confront political figures and try to intimidate them and attack and stuff like that. So the X-Men would be the people that come in to save the humans, and the humans still hate on them because they are mutants, and they'll never get over the fact that, yes, they are here to help, but they're mutants. So it's like the humans are just ignorant in that way. But Magneto and his team end up having a fight with the X-Men at the end. There's a whole thing that goes on, and in the end it's kind of like a stalemate. So Magneto and his Brotherhood of Mutants and the X-Men kind of, they go different ways. They have their final battle, but they realize this is always going to be an ongoing fight between them, and it's not worth, sacrificing all of them in this moment for something that's obviously going to take time to kind of go over. It's always going to be an ongoing conflict between Magneto and Charles and the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants. So at this point, they're kind of like, you know what, we're going to coexist. We're still going to do our things, and we know you're going to be an obstacle for us, but it's not something that's worth putting all of this bloodshed into just for something that's inevitably going to take forever. So that's what I wanted to get in this. Now, the post-credit scene links this to the greater franchise, and throughout this movie it's obviously very grounded. It's like a standalone thing. It does take place in this universe, but you don't see that until the post-credit scene. So the post-credit scene would be Reed Richards meeting with Charles to discuss forming a council of heroes for the planning of future threats to Earth. So if you are a Marvel Comics fan, you obviously know what this is alluding to. I'm not going to name drop it because this becomes an essential part to the franchise later on. But at this point, you can see that Reed knows of Charles Xavier. Obviously, he's a renowned professor and scientist and all that, but he does have ties to the greater universe. So Reed Richards comes into it and kind of says, hey, we know what you can do. We know you have a group of people that can help, but you could help us with something in the future. And I'm kind of putting together a team of people that could potentially become something that is very powerful. So that's what Reed is trying to do. He's kind of like looking ahead as they reveal who is behind the attacks and the hunt for cosmic artifacts and entities. He's kind of putting together that team to kind of stand in their way if it should escalate to a much more impactful level, which it will at some point. It's going to take time because obviously there are 3 phases to this, but as of now, it's still building up. So that's what Reed is trying to build up to and anticipate that this could escalate to a point where there are multiple heroes needed to help in this situation. So that's what I have for X-Men. Again, make sure to subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed. I'd really appreciate it, and make sure to let me know in the comments what you think of this series and what you think of this project specifically. I'd really appreciate any feedback that you have, and I will see you all in the next episode next week, where I will be talking about the finale to Phase 1 of the cosmic saga, The Avengers. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.